Before you learn how to make her love you madly, you need to hear something that might unsettle you. Most men never lose women because they aren't good enough. They lose them because they try too hard to be chosen. And the moment a woman feels you're auditioning for her approval, desire quietly drains away. This isn't cruelty, it's psychology. And tonight, I'm going to speak to you like someone who respects you enough to tell you the truth you were never taught. I want you to imagine this for a second. A woman is watching you, not with her eyes, but with her nervous system. She's sensing how you move through the world, how you respond to silence, how you handle uncertainty, how you treat your own time. Long before she decides whether she wants you, she decides whether she can relax around you, whether she feels safe, intrigued, and emotionally awake in your presence. And here's the uncomfortable part. Most men unknowingly signal emotional hunger. They lean forward energetically, emotionally, psychologically. They chase clarity, they chase reassurance, they chase connection. And the chase itself tells her something powerful. This man needs me more than he needs himself. Female attraction doesn't ignite from being impressed. It ignites from contrast, from polarity. From a man who is grounded enough to stand still while the world moves around him. When you rush to please, explain, fix, or secure her interest, you collapse that polarity. You become predictable, manageable, emotionally flat, and she may still like you as a person, but liking is not longing, comfort is not craving, safety without tension becomes friendship, not fire. Here's what most dating advice gets wrong. It tells you to say the right lines, perform the right behaviors, and avoid mistakes. But attraction is not built from performance. It's built from presence, from the way you occupy space without apologizing for it, from the way you allow moments to breathe without rushing to fill them, from the way you choose yourself even when choosing yourself risks losing her, especially then. A woman falls deeply for the man who doesn't abandon himself to keep her. Because when you abandon yourself, you silently ask her to carry the weight of your worth. And that weight kills desire. She wants to feel chosen, not responsible, drawn in, not depended on. When you stop trying to lock her in emotionally, something fascinating happens. Her curiosity wakes up. Her imagination starts working. And imagination is where obsession is born. This isn't about playing games or acting cold. It's about emotional sovereignty, about knowing that your life, your mission, your inner direction existed before her and will continue with or without her. When she feels that, she doesn't feel pushed away. She feels invited into a world that already has gravity. So as you listen, I want you to drop the idea of doing something to her. This is about doing something within yourself that changes the way she experiences you. And once that shift happens, her behavior will change without you forcing a single thing. Now here's the move most men never make because it feels counterintuitive, even dangerous. You stop trying to be emotionally available on demand. Not distant, not rude, not withdrawn, but no longer instantly accessible just because she reaches out. You become emotionally selective, and this single shift rewires how she feels about you. Women don't fall madly in love with availability. They fall in love with meaning, and meaning is created by contrast, by pauses, by moments where she has to feel you rather than consume you. When you respond instantly every time, explain yourself endlessly, and offer emotional reassurance before it's earned, you remove all mystery from the connection. Mystery isn't manipulation. It's the space where her emotions stretch toward you. Think about this deeply. When you don't immediately soothe her doubts, when you don't rush to fix every emotional ripple, you're telling her something powerful without words. I trust the connection enough not to panic. That calm confidence creates emotional safety at a much deeper level than reassurance ever could. It tells her you're not afraid of losing her because you haven't lost yourself. This is where most men sabotage themselves. A woman pulls back slightly, maybe unconsciously testing emotional gravity. The average man feels it as danger. He texts more, explains more, tries harder. But the man who makes her fall madly in love does the opposite. He stays centered. He continues his life. He doesn't punish her distance, but he doesn't chase it either. And suddenly, she's the one feeling the pull. Here's the psychological truth few talk about. A woman bonds not when she is reassured, but when she invests. Every time she wonders about you, every time she thinks about why you didn't react the way others do, every time she feels your emotional steadiness, her nervous system leans in. She starts attaching meaning to you, not because you demanded it, but because you allowed space for it to grow. This one move works because it activates her emotional imagination. She begins to feel something that can't be forced, curiosity mixed with respect. She senses that being close to you is a privilege, not a guarantee, and that doesn't make her feel insecure in a toxic way. It makes her feel alive, awake, engaged. Notice the difference. You're still warm, you still listen, you still care. But you don't abandon your rhythm to match hers. You don't reshape your mood based on her attention. You don't chase emotional certainty. You let connection unfold at its own pace. And pace is everything in attraction. A woman can feel when a man is emotionally anchored. It relaxes her. It allows her feminine energy to emerge without fear. She doesn't have to manage you. She doesn't have to reassure you. She gets to experience you. And that's where desire deepens into something dangerous and beautiful. This isn't about withholding love. It's about holding your ground. When you stop overgiving emotionally, she starts leaning in emotionally. When you stop proving your value, she starts discovering it. And discovery is far more intoxicating than persuasion. The moment you internalize this, everything changes. Not because you changed her, but because you changed the emotional gravity between you. Here's where this move goes even deeper, into a place most men never reach. Once you stop chasing emotional certainty, you start creating emotional leadership. And women don't fall madly in love with men who follow their emotions. They fall for men who can hold steady while emotions rise and fall around them. Emotional leadership means you don't panic when the mood shifts. You don't interrogate her silence. You don't demand explanations for feelings that haven't fully formed yet. You understand that emotions move like weather, not contracts. And because you're not threatened by emotional fluctuation, she feels free to be fully herself around you. That freedom is intoxicating. Most men think intimacy is built by sharing everything, immediately, but deep bonding happens when a woman feels seen without being dissected. When you allow her emotions to exist without trying to label or fix them, you send a powerful signal. You are safe here. I'm not overwhelmed by you. That's rare. And rarity breeds desire. This is also where respect quietly locks in. Respect isn't earned by doing more. It's earned by standing firm in who you are. When you maintain your boundaries, your pace, your sense of direction, she doesn't feel rejected. She feels oriented. She knows where you stand, even when you don't spell it out. And clarity without desperation is magnetic. Here's a truth most men resist. You don't create obsession by being unforgettable. You create it by being slightly unfinished in her mind. When she can't fully predict your emotional reactions, when you don't mirror her energy perfectly, her subconscious keeps returning to you. Not because you're confusing, but because you're self-contained. Women emotionally bond through contrast. Your steadiness highlights her emotional depth. Your calm amplifies her feelings. Your grounded presence gives her something to move toward. And when she moves toward you by choice, not pressure, love grows roots. This is why the one move works across cultures, ages, and personalities. It speaks directly to the nervous system, not logic. It tells her, without words, that you're capable of holding space for both connection and independence, that you won't collapse under closeness or disappear under distance. And something subtle happens here. She starts adjusting herself to you. She times her messages differently. She wonders what you're thinking. She becomes more present when she's with you. Not because you demanded it, but because your emotional gravity pulled it out of her. At this stage, many men make a fatal mistake. They notice her increased interest and immediately revert to overgiving. They chase the high of being wanted. But the man who keeps her loving him madly understands restraint. He allows the bond to deepen naturally. He doesn't rush to define it. He lets her emotional investment outpace his words. You don't need to dominate or withdraw. You need to remain whole. When you do, she doesn't feel like she's falling into you. She feels like she's choosing you, and choice is the foundation of lasting desire. This is the moment where attraction stops being fragile and starts becoming resilient. Because it's no longer built on constant reassurance, it's built on trust in your emotional center. And once a woman trusts that center, her feelings don't fade easily. Now listen carefully, because this is where the shift becomes irreversible. When you hold emotional center and lead without force, something happens inside her that most men never witness. She stops evaluating you and starts attaching to you. Evaluation is logical. Attachment is emotional. And once a woman crosses that line, her feelings don't just grow, they anchor. At this stage, she's no longer asking, "Do I like him?" She's asking, "Why does he affect me this way?" And that question is powerful, because the mind will always try to justify what the heart has already decided. She begins to assign meaning to your presence. Your absence carries weight. Your words land deeper. Your silence speaks louder than most men's effort. This is where your consistency matters more than intensity. Not consistency in texting, not consistency in compliments, consistency in who you are. Your tone doesn't swing wildly. Your values don't bend for approval. Your mood isn't hijacked by her attention. And because of that, she feels something rare: emotional containment. She feels like she can lean into you without you tipping over. Women crave emotional safety, but not the kind that feels dull. They crave the safety that comes from a man who trusts himself. When you don't rush to define the relationship, when you don't pressure the future, when you don't cling to the present, she feels free. And freedom is where love chooses to stay. Here's the paradox: the less you try to secure her, the more secure she feels with you. Because security doesn't come from promises, it comes from predictability of character. She watches how you handle frustration, how you handle temptation, how you handle not getting your way. And every time you respond with grounded calm instead of emotional reaction, her attachment deepens. At this level, she starts opening emotionally in ways she didn't plan to. She shares fears, past wounds, thoughts she doesn't say out loud to most people. Not because you demanded vulnerability, but because your presence invited it. And when she does open, you don't rush to fix her. You listen, you hold space, you remain steady. That's when love stops being a feeling and starts becoming a bond. This is also where restraint becomes essential. A woman can feel when a man starts feeding on her emotional openness, when he begins to need it. The moment you make her vulnerability about your validation, the polarity weakens. So you stay composed, appreciative but not consuming, interested but not dependent. She senses that you enjoy her, but you don't require her to feel whole. And that creates a powerful dynamic. She wants to give more. She wants to be closer. She wants to feel chosen by a man who already chooses himself. Understand this deeply. Love grows strongest where there is no pressure to perform. When she doesn't feel like she has to entertain you, reassure you, or manage your emotions, she relaxes into her natural desire. And natural desire is intense, it's playful, it's loyal, it's deeply emotional. By now, the roles have quietly shifted. You're no longer trying to impress her. She's trying to understand why you stand out, why being with you feels different, why your presence lingers even when you're not there. This is not control. This is emotional mastery. And once you reach this point, love doesn't feel fragile anymore. It feels inevitable. This is where everything settles into truth. Not fantasy, not tactics, truth. The reason this one move makes her love you madly is because it restores something most modern connections have lost: emotional polarity rooted in self-respect. You didn't manipulate her feelings. You didn't chase her affection. You became a man whose inner world is stable enough to invite someone in without losing himself. At this point, her love doesn't feel rushed or anxious. It feels intentional. She feels chosen, not cornered, desired, not depended on. And that distinction changes how deeply she commits emotionally. Because when a woman loves a man who doesn't need her to be complete, she can love him freely, without fear, without pressure, without resentment. She trusts you now, not just with her body or her time, but with her emotions. And emotional trust is the highest form of intimacy. She believes that being close to you won't cost her herself, that you won't collapse if she leans in, and you won't disappear if she steps back. That balance is rare, and rarity creates devotion. Here's what you must never forget. The moment you abandon this center, the moment you start seeking validation, reassurance, or identity through her, the dynamic weakens. Love doesn't disappear instantly, but it loses its edge. So you keep doing what brought you here. You keep choosing your purpose. You keep honoring your boundaries. You keep living a life that feels full even when she's not in the room. And ironically, that's what makes her want to stay in the room longer. This isn't about being emotionless. It's about being emotionally sovereign. You feel deeply, but you don't bleed onto her. You care strongly, but you don't cling. You love, but you don't negotiate your worth. That balance turns affection into admiration, admiration into attachment, and attachment into deep love. A woman loves madly when she feels she's stepping into a man's life, not becoming the center of it. When she feels like a partner, not a pillar holding you up. When she knows she's wanted, not required. That's when love becomes powerful instead of fragile. So here's the truth you were never supposed to hear. The one move was never about her. It was about you reclaiming your emotional center. And once you do that, the right woman doesn't need convincing. She feels it, and she chooses it. Before you go, I want to ask you something personal. In your last connection, did you lean forward emotionally, or did you stand in your center? Answer honestly in the comments. If this message hit something deep in you, like this video, subscribe for more truth they don't teach men, and share this with a friend who needs to hear it, because one shift can change everything.